dial on. Okay, you said where you talked about your career. You said you're not a teacher, but you said you're not a teacher, but I'm in education. I would say I'm not a teacher, but I'm in the educational field. Yeah, just the field of education. You said little material resources when talking about career. I'd say limited material resources. They're limited. There's only a finite amount. Yeah, a certain amount. You said we spend enormous money in sports teams. It's enormous amounts of money. Otherwise, it would suggest just a really big change. Okay. There we go. Okay. You said think about quitting your job. Quit. You said I think about quit your job. It should be quitting. Think about quitting my job. Then you said will be happen soon. Talking about something earlier. You said it will be happening. It will happen soon. You don't need will and be. So both verbs. Then you talked about the purity of sports with corporations getting involved. Integrity of sports teams. Baseball. Oh, sorry, that was you. Yeah, I apologise. Yes, that was you. That's one of yours. Check. Yeah. And then, you talked about matches growing. You're talking about matches getting, one particular businesses getting, the industry not getting growing. Like your legal terms, you said it's not the market. I'd say stagnating. Yes, stagnating, sitting still and not moving. STAGNATING, stag. So when something isn't progressing, it stagnates. You could stagnate at work, something like that. Okay, Sugo. Right then, so the integrity of the sport. Okay, it's done. Just when you say brick by brick, we're talking about that. You can also say one at a time, piece by piece. Different ways of saying the same thing. When you talked about a fading industry, you talked with journalism. I'd say the industry's dying out as well. Fading's fine, but I'd say it's dying out because it kind of reflects the importance of it by saying dying. Just another word for hand-picked, you can say cherry-picked as well. So when you hand-pick something, you also cherry-pick it, which means you pick the best, kind of the best. It means the best fruit from a basket. It's called cherry-picking.
Like negative meaning.
No, it's a good meaning.
Really, I heard that there is the word cherry-picker. They only get the
Yeah, they choose the best bits. Yeah, a cherry.
That really get paid.
A cherry picker would be someone who chooses, but that's someone who only chooses, who's selective. But if you're cherry picking the best, it just means you're weeding out the bad things. So not in that context, no. Depends which context. Okay, Sophia. You talked about a carrier and provider for the iPhone 4 when you're in background information. You could say that company was the only carrier and provider. You could just say it had the monopoly on iPhones. You're talking about Brexit. You said after Brexit leaves. Brexit can't leave because it's not a thing. So you'd say after Brexit is initiated, after it started. Then you're talking about something very, very shrinking. An industry, the banking industry, very, very shrinking, just shrinking dramatically. Yeah, very, very shrinking. Alex, you said flipped his decision. I'd say just changed his mind. Yeah, I wouldn't really say flipped. I'd say changed his mind. And then we talked about something about commercial for advertisement. You said not that much expensive. When talking about advertising, commercials, not too expensive. That's it. Yeah. There. Okay, you talked about certain markets being stagnant. Stagnating. It's always stagnating, not being stagnant. You said expect my retirement age. I expect my retirement age to be in a couple of years, or my age of retirement. You can say. Then you said spending when you're talking about the health industry and people in a career they're spending. You said spend money on drugs. I'd say supplements. Yeah, I'd probably go for more supplements because it's not necessarily drugs per se. It's like vitamin C and anti-aging and stuff. And the one thing that Americans use the word drugs a lot, like drugstore and that. For me, it sounds really strange. Yeah, but as definitely Americans totally fine. But for British people, we don't say drugstore. Like we have pharmacy and stuff, so it's like a drugstore. We're like, what? They're selling heroin. That's what it feels. But that's just a personal. That's a British thing. So, Yeah, then you could talk about government spending, government constrained spending. It's government restricted spending. I'd say they restrict spending on that. Okay, Jamie. Last but not least, we've got these items when you're talking about with the football teams, and you showed your phone code, merchandise. Yeah, nice. And just anything to do with a sports team or a company is the merchandise. Right at the beginning, you talked about dividing up your room, things you're going to take to Milan or not. I'd say I'd separated my things. I was separating my things or sorting out my things with which ones I want to take. If you divided up your room, it just suggests you just putting it into one room either side. So just kind of sort.
I want to express divided to the
Yeah.
groups.
Yeah, no, yeah, okay. Yeah, so I'd say sorted. I'd say sorted rather than divide. Yeah. Okay. Sorted out. Okay, that's everything. Thank you all very much. Exactly 10 o'clock as well.